Hello and welcome to my garden. I am Bethan and I really want to share with you 3 beetroot recipes that I have been using a lot lately to use up my glut of beetroot. Now I'm going to pick some beetroot from the garden, but if you don't grow your own beetroot, you can either buy it uncooked from the supermarket or you can buy it like pre-cooked in little cellophane packages. Right, let's go and have a look at the beetroot I've got to pick and then we'll get in the kitchen and start cooking. Right, I was just gathering up the rest of the weeds while I'm here and I think I've got enough beetroot here for the recipes I need. But if I don't, I'll just pop out and I'll grab some from the other bed where I've got my beetroot growing. But for now, let's get in the house and get these roasted up. Well, I roasted up my beetroot earlier. I put them into a roasting tin, or rather 2 roasting trays, because I ended up harvesting the other batch of beetroot as well, because I was clearing that space. So if you want to see that, go and have a look at my other vlog about it. So I ended up with quite a lot of beetroot. This is the amount I've got, but that's good because I will use whatever I want for this recipe, and then I will freeze the rest of this beetroot. And then when I want to make any of these recipes or a different recipe with beetroot in the future, I can just take the frozen beetroot out of the freezer and use it like that. So hopefully that will save me a bit of time. So I've got the ingredients in front of me for the first recipe, which is going to be a beetroot hummus. I'll put the amounts and measures in the description below. But what we've got here are some garlic, lemon, cumin seeds, salt, black pepper, beetroot, chickpeas, and some extra virgin olive oil. It also freezes well, so you can make a big batch of it now. I'm not necessarily making a big batch of it today, but it will make a big batch and you can just freeze it, and then you've got a snack or a meal ready to go for whenever you want to pop it out of the freezer. I'm going to start this recipe by gently toasting some cumin seeds. So I'm going to put a teaspoon of cumin seeds into the frying pan and just leave them to gently toast for about 2 minutes. You want to keep an eye on them because they can burn quite easily, but a gentle heat should see you through. And once you can smell them, just take them off the heat and leave them to one side for a second or so to cool down. And we will then add our ingredients to the mixer. So we'll go in with some beetroot and the chickpeas, a couple of pinches of salt, depending on how much you like to season, 1 clove of garlic chopped, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and then put the lid on and mix it all together. Every now and again you may want to stop it to just scrape down the sides, because sometimes the mixture rises to the top, so the top bits don't get incorporated as well. 1 more blitz and we'll add the cumin seeds and the lemon. I've just gone and chopped the lemon in half. The recipe says for 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, so I'm just going to use a whole lemon because, well, I don't mind it lemony. Right, in with the cumin seeds. Just going to put a couple of turns of black pepper in. Okay, we should be there now. It should, I think it should have all the flavours that we want. I shall try and have a quick taste without like chewing on camera, as it were. That is lovely. You've got the sweetness and the earthiness of the beetroot with a hint of garlic and lemon. Some of those cumin seeds come through, so you get a bit of a bite of the cumin seed, and the chickpeas are there too. Yeah, this is nice. So So I'll get into this Tupperware now. We'll eat them all together at the end. And then I'll get on with sorting out the next recipe. This next recipe is pickled beetroot. So I've just been sterilising my jars. Now with pickling or any form of sterilisation, you need to know how to sterilise things, you know, have a read up about it. But basically what I've done is I put the jars into soapy water for a few minutes, then I rinsed out the soapy water and I placed them onto a tray with some kitchen towel underneath, and I put them face down first and then remembered I needed to put them the other way, so I turned them up the other way and then I popped them into an oven at about 140 degrees Celsius for maybe about 10 to 15 minutes, and that should be sterilised now. I'm just going to leave them there for a minute just to cool down slightly while we get on with making the brine for these pickles. So the ingredients for this pickle are sugar, salt, that's sea salt. This is distilled vinegar, but you can use any vinegar you want. This is just plain tap water, and then we have our beetroots. So the thing with this recipe is it's a bit hard to be exact about the amounts you need, because it depends how much beetroot you're going to have, the size of the jar you're going to use, how much brine you want to make. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my basic brining mixture, as it were, and then you can increase it, so you can double it or triple it depending on your requirements. So what the brining method is, it's 1 cup of distilled vinegar to 1 cup of just plain water, 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar, and 1 teaspoon of sea salt. And you mix them all together in the pan and boil them up until the sugar and salt is dissolved, and then you have your brine. So I'm not sure how much beetroot I'm going to use, because I've got 3 jars here and they're fairly large jars. I am hoping to have some beetroot to freeze after this, but if you've used too much brine and you have a spare jar, you can always just, you know, chop up an onion or chop up a carrot and or grate a carrot and pop that in the jar and just use up the extra brine that way, because this method is so versatile. You know, you can use different forms of veg depending on what you have from your garden or from the shops, you know, whatever you've got left over from your weekly shopping. I'll get on now with doing the brining method. Oh, it is worth me saying, if you like mustard seeds or peppercorns or fennel seeds or whatever flavourings you like, feel free to add them. I've kept my brining mixture quite simple, but if you want to add more flavourings, you go ahead and do that. So I think I'm going to treble the mixture and see how much liquid we've got in this pan once I've done that. So in goes 3 cups of vinegar, 3 cups of water, so 9 tablespoons of sugar, 9, and then 3 teaspoons of the salt. 1, 2, 3. And then we'll place it on the hob, bring it to the boil, and then leave it on a gentle simmer while we sort out our beetroot. So that's lovely and clear now. All the salt and sugar has dissolved. I thought I'd take the opportunity to sit down. That's me. Any opportunity to sit down and I'll do it. So I'm going to chop these just into cubes whatever sort of size you like. You can slice them, cube them, you can keep them whole. These are quite baby ones, so I could keep them whole, but I would rather chop them up and have them a bit smaller. I think I'm going to go for 2 grated ones and then 1 cubed one. So I'm going to try and get as many in here as I can. I've left the skin on this beetroot as well because, well, when I roasted it, I left it to cool a bit. I must have left it to cool a bit too long because I couldn't get the skin off at all. So I thought, well, everyone always says the goodness is always in the skin of vegetables, so hopefully it won't affect the taste too much. Right, I think that should be enough. I won't do it all the way to the top because I'm going to put a weight on there to make sure that all the beetroot is submerged when I put the vinegar in, or the vinegar solution I should say. I think that will be full enough. Let's get on with grating the beetroot and popping it into the next one. They feel a bit like jelly sweets, this grated beetroot. You know, like those sort of worms, jelly worms you can get. Quite a similar texture to that. It's a bit off-putting, really. But they are lovely. I do enjoy these grated beetroot very much. Well, it's just as well it's Halloween soon with these lovely red hands. Ooh. This beetroot does look like some sort of brains, doesn't it? Really, try this recipe. It's really good. It just looks lovely. I think that's enough. So there's our 3 beetroot. I'll get a kitchen towel to wipe down the sides and things. Yeah, lovely. I'll tidy up and we'll pour in the vinegar. Well, I'm back. I know you don't know I didn't go anywhere, but my phone just ran out of battery, so I've just had to put it on to charge for about 20 minutes. However, let's get the vinegar in here. So, I'm going to very carefully tip the mixture into here, making a nice mess on the table, and then I'm going to tip into here. And it'll all bubble to the top, and you've just got to leave it a few seconds to settle because the bubbles will come up, and you just want to make sure that it's all like covered in vinegar, as it were. A bit more. And then I want to put a weight in it, so hopefully I've not put too much vinegar. And then the top. Just giving the tops a bit of a clean. Make sure there's no beetroot lingering around. And I'll just get the rings and put them on. And we're almost there. Just putting the last of the rings on, just to hold the lids in place. And of course, they're not going on right because I'm filming. That one's better. These are now done. They should sit in my fridge for about 2 to 3 weeks. They'll be ready to eat within about an hour, but obviously the longer I leave them, the better they get. So let's pop these in the fridge and move on to the next recipe. For this recipe, you will need baking powder, 3 eggs, cocoa powder, sunflower oil, plain flour, milk chocolate or dark chocolate, whichever you prefer, beetroot and caster sugar. So the last recipe is going to be a cake. It's going to be a beetroot chocolate cake. So I've already lined a 23 centimetre deep pan baking tray, and I'm going to put all the dry ingredients into this bowl and all the wet ingredients into the food processor, mix it all up, and then add the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients, then into the tin, and we shall go. So we add the cocoa, the plain flour, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and the sugar. Well, that's all sieved now. So we'll put the beetroot into the food mixer, and we mix the beetroot up first. So we process it until it's smoothish. Now that is smooth, we're going to add 1 egg at a time into the top of the food mixer, and then we'll slowly add the sunflower oil in through the top as well. And then once it's all liquidy, we'll add it to the dry ingredients. Making a bit of a mess now. Right, so I'm going to tip this into the dry ingredients. Have you made even more of a mess now? Don't do that. So we're going to fold all this together now, and once it's folded in, I'll add in the chocolate bits and then into the pan. You've got to be quite careful when you stir things like this, because you will find pockets of flour throughout the mixture, so you need to make sure you've given it a thorough stir. Right then, let's get this into the oven, which has been preheated to 160 degrees Celsius, and I'll bake this for about 45 minutes until a skewer comes out clean. Fingers crossed. Well, the 45 minutes are up now, so it's time to do the skewer test. So we literally just poke the cake, see if any bits come out on the skewer. If the skewer is clean, which it is, the cake is done. So I'll just pop it on top of the oven for about 10 minutes to cool, and then I'll turn it out onto a wire rack just so it can cool a bit quicker. Well, the cake has been cooling now for 10 minutes, so I'm just going to turn it out. Not very delicately, didn't quite mean to do that. I'll just pull this bottom layer off. There we are, now that can cool for a bit. Right, the 10 minutes have passed now, so we're going to put some icing sugar over the top. You can icing sugar absolutely everywhere here. Right, and then I'm going to transfer it onto this plate. And voila! It's done! It looks quite good, doesn't it? I think it's time we go and try all our efforts. Well, what a midnight feast we've got here. It's not quite midnight, but it is quite late. It's not really the time of day you want something with garlic in it, unless it's like garlic bread. However, I will soldier on and try the hummus, because I know it's going to be delicious because I've made it before. So let's try it with the bread. Yeah, that's really lovely. That's a really nice item. I don't know if that's the right word to say, but it's a really lovely thing to have in your fridge. So you can either have it for breakfast on toast, or you can have it as a snack, or you can have it as a main meal. You know, there's plenty here. This will keep you going for ages because it's got the chickpeas, it's got protein, you know, it's got lots of things that are really good for you in it. So it's really, really lovely. So let's move on to the pickles. So we've got a selection here. We've got crackers with cheese, which have got spring onions and tomatoes on them. And obviously the beetroot pickle. Got to put it all back together now, but those pickles are really lovely. They've got the vinegariness, but they've also got sweetness. So first you get that like, and then it's like, yeah, it's mellowing out quite nice. This one is cucumber and spreadable cheese. These are really lovely, lovely combinations. So let's try the chocolate beetroot cake. Now when I cut into this was lovely and moist, so I'm hoping it's going to be nice. And my children have expressed quite an interest in this cake. I did try, well, one Griff said to me, is it red velvet? And there was part of me that did think for a minute, let me go on, you know, and let him think it's red velvet and deceive him, but I couldn't. I had to tell him it was beetroot in it. But actually the cake itself is very brown. There isn't really much sign of beetroot in it. So if you wanted to get away with like hiding beetroot in it, I reckon you could, unless you can taste the beetroot. So let's find out. There isn't an obvious taste of beetroot in this. There is a slight earthiness to the cake, but that could come through with the chocolate. But what the beetroot does is it makes it nice and light and moist. So it's lovely and light. Yeah, this is really nice. So I'm really pleased that all these recipes have worked out, because in essence, we've got about 4 meals with this, and probably some I can freeze as well, so we can eat at a later date. So there's about 4 meals there. There's 2 to 3 weeks worth of pickles in my fridge, so I don't have to pickle anything for a bit. And then we have dessert for about 3 or 4 days here. So I'm really pleased with these recipes. They are great. Please give them a go. They are well worth it. They are really, really yummy in themselves. I've been Bethan, and this has been a lovely job. Salt or pepper or lemon. No, everything is there. Sorry, I paused for a minute because I know some people don't like you eating on camera. So I took a big mouthful, and then I was like, Oh no, now they're just going to hear me crunching. Well, not crunching, you know, but eating. I think I better do that again. Get out of it. Get out of it. Soapy water earlier. Then I rinsed off the soap. And after running the jars, let's do that again. Can't talk tonight. Right.